Welcome back to Adventure and Repeats. Glad to see you here. So we're finally putting a bed cap on our 2024 Chevrolet 2500 HD. So we wanted one that worked with the bed rack because we haul a lot of kayaks with us and paddleboards. So this is the bed cap that we decided to go with. We're going to show you how to install it and tell you why we picked it. First step was getting the bed rack off. And boy, is it weird seeing this truck without that back on there. So next we're going to prep the rails and get it ready for starting to install it. For how big the box is, there ain't much in there other than you've got left and right rails, you've got the actual cover itself, and then all your parts that you need for installation right here. It doesn't come with a paper installation manual except for the supplemental for if you need to shim it, so that you have to do online. I always like to use adhesion promoter to prep these rails to make sure these seals stick. It may not be a big deal just cleaning it soap and water, and you can use some regular alcohol if you want to. But I like to prep it with a adhesion promoter because that makes it nice and tacky. You can feel it in your hands and your gloves, so it sticks there and you don't have to worry about ever having that seal pull off. Although it is a pain to change afterwards, but we don't have to worry about it falling off when we're using it. And we'll start laying out the seal on the bulkhead to make sure that is going to seal it from water coming in from the front. Taking time, trying to make it as straight as possible. Seat it down nice. And then keep going down the row. You can use a piece of cardboard as a spacer, as a template across there if you need to. But I put a lot of seal on, so it really doesn't bother me to do it this way. And keep it straight. Got sidetracked with family time, so now we're back in the garage. But we're looking at this. Before I can go any further, after getting that bulkhead seal, we need to make sure the bed is within tolerance for the bed cap itself. So we need to measure the front and back of the bed to make sure this is going to fit without any problems. So if we have to have any problems with it, if it's too wide, if the bed is made too wide, we got to shim it. And the instructions talk about it to make it easy. And we'll see how this bed lays out. They don't tell you for the dimensions. You need to roll it out to get the cab end. Measure from the slot, that slot right there, to the other side. And take that dimension, match it to the front end of your bed. You take that dimension, mine was 63 3/4 at the front of the bed, and my slot was 59. So it's 4 3/4. When I come down here, I am required 0 shims. So my truck is pretty much right on the money, if not a hair on the narrow side. So it shouldn't be a big deal. It should be just fine. It should fit perfect. But that is how you check for the installation sheets. If you do need to add like 2, they just basically want you to go halfway down the bed, put another one. So basically, you put 2 at the front, put 1 right there, so it just makes it even space. You're not torquing the brackets and causing undue stress on it. So that's what this side of it says right there. But mine is on the money, so we're going to keep moving forward. So we're starting with the passenger side rail. This rail takes this bracket and pushes all the way up against the front of the bed. And then you've got the clamp that goes right here. I have mine spaced 8 inches apart from the front of the bed and there. That's what I'm gonna do on both sides. They say between 6 and 9 inches. So we're gonna be right there on the money, so it's in a good spot. This is a 9/16 inch bolt. So you take a regular wrench, 10 foot-pounds you torque it down to, and they want you to put your hand up on top and put pressure down on this so you secure it so this actually seats on the bed as best as possible. So it's quick and easy to do, so we just gotta go down the line. So we got the front clamp about 8 inches away, and then the strap that they call for right there, just a 3/4 inch away from that. Between that clamp and that one right there, the mid clamp, I've got about 30 inches just to make it about the center. And then the last one they call for about 12 inches away from the tailgate, so I just measured from the end of this, which is the tailgate edge anyways, and there, so 12 inches. So those are all torqued down, so we're just going to repeat the steps on the other side. And we're good to go. Now that both rails are on, next thing to do is take this and get it rolled out on there to check for measurements and location and get this fully installed. I started at the back and started rolling my way forward and worked on up this way. And next thing we're going to have to do is put the bolts in the T-slots here. What those do is once you put it in there, those will line up with these holes right here. So you have to slide them in there and kind of do some test fitting to get this to seat into here. Because then we'll fold this edge over and do a first and final mock-up. So what we're looking for tolerance is to make sure this is in the right place. This is down here in the pocket. You're trying to make sure that rubber isolator lands right there in the groove where that rolled edge is right there. That is on that same lip. Goes the same for the other side. You can see that's how it's supposed to look right there. It fits right there in the groove. See if I can give a better angle, just like that. And it shows the same on the other side. If something is not lined up properly, you need to adjust it and fit it before you final tighten everything. So you just want to make sure it's good left and right so it all rolls up nicely. These are the bolts they give you for the front T-slots with washers to go with underneath. So it'd be a rubber and metal just like that. Just a nice sandwich like that on the bottom, with this going up through the bottom as well. So that's how it's going to be. Those are the bolts right there. See the screws right there going in, and it's designed to, when it goes down, this final edge right there is at the same edge as the leading edge of the track. So once you do that, you go on through the inside and then tighten the bolts down from the inside, just like that. Nice and easy. These are lock nuts, so once you get to a certain point, they actually do get tougher. And that's how you tighten them up. So we're going to roll this back out to make sure our fit and fitment's good before we tighten it back down. Once you're happy with fit and fitment on the back side with the tailgate closed and everything works out nice, last thing to do is tighten up the bolts in the front. Laying in here tends to be the easiest way to do it. Tightening up both of these. Pinches everything down, the bulkhead seal seals up real nice. The last thing I want you to do is install these D-ring seals on the very front edge of here. It doesn't say specifically what slats to go to, so it kind of depends on how your assembly rolls up. But it goes in the front there just to prevent this from rolling back and hitting the cab. Mine's nice and tight, so it's probably not ever going to hit it, but we're going to install it just because they come with it. Nice and easy. So here you can see we have the bed cap fully installed with our rack back on it. So it really works out great with this rack because this was a T-slot rack anyways. And they do make a rack that you can buy that goes specifically with this bed cap system itself. It's like $800, something like that. But my rack that I already had works out great, so it fits well. All I had to do was just move the arms out just a little bit because they had clamps that went on the inside of the bed rails, which isn't a big deal. But I really like how this looks. It's clean, it's sleek, it lays low, it's nice, low profile. So that's one of the big things I like about having a bed cap is having it be low profile. I'm not a big fan of ones that stick up above the bed rail, especially if I have to mount stuff or set stuff on the sides. I don't want it to be in the way. So I think it looks nicer and it works out great. This does fit and work with this bed rack, so it works out nice. And a couple of the key features that I like that I really picked out for these is this is a nice aluminum with a vinyl top. So it's actually got structure to it, so it's going to actually hold out to the snow that we get because this truck just sits outside. And as for theft, nobody's going to take a knife and go and just cut it right open if you got a normal leather one, which I don't want to have happen to me, especially because I'm hauling gear all the time, especially on long road trips, things I just want to keep secure. That is something that's a big deal for me. And since I don't have a multi-pro tailgate, I like to have stuff that can be unlocked from either side. So on each side, they have these cables you can simply just pull, release, and tips up, and then it rolls up forward. So it's actually pretty easy to do one-handed, and you can roll it up from one side or the other. You don't have to be going down the middle like you would with like normal leather ones or go back and forth depending on how it is, and you don't have to worry about it. And for closing it up, you roll it back out and just lock it in place. So it's actually a really cool system in how it works, and it actually is a really cool locking system to go with that, which I'll show you here. This is how it looks with the bed cap actually rolled up to the front. It has straps that hold it in place so it doesn't roll up and unroll and hit the cab, things like that. But it works out nice. It fits well. It goes past the rack, so I don't actually have to worry about it hitting. And this is what the T-slot looks like. So you just use your normal universal T-slot nuts, and you can mount whatever you want to these rails. It's nice and easy. So the cool locking mechanism that these have is this arm structure right here. So what it has on the actual bed cap itself, it has little fingers. that sit and lay down on this rail, and when it collapses and locks in this last one, it pushes this down, and this aluminum comes out and locks onto those fingers. So they actually lock and hold this down so the bed cap doesn't actually go up and down, and nobody can pry underneath it and steal whatever you have in there as well. So it actually locks it in place as a double lock. It actually works out really cool. So it has it on both sides, and it's nice and smooth. So it actually works out really cool. So one of the last big key features I like about it as well is actually a pretty low profile and thin. So when it's rolled out, it sits at the height of the bed. And then also it doesn't protrude inwards on the bed itself either, because it sits and just goes right about at the same height your bed rail rolled over is. So it's super easy to work with. It doesn't take up much space. This locks in, that's all it is. So that is one of the nice features. So I'm not losing bed space while I still have this closed, because honestly, sometimes some tall things, especially when you get in your coolers and things like that, they can be very tall, and you don't want to impede on that and not be able to have your bed cap closed. So that's one of the other key things that I really liked about having this style bed cap. There's plenty on the market. This is what works great for us, and this is something that I really like, so I wanted to recommend it to you as well. I'll have a link in the description for it in case you want to buy your own. Other than that, hopefully you can like the video, comment, tell us what you think, tell us what you hear about, and subscribe. We got a lot of great content coming, a lot of great content on the channel, so be sure to check it out. And remember to have a great adventure.